because people are indie until they find a better opportunity and break out. I think indie will become viable with Web3. It's actually thinking of building an AI bot. I couldn't understand why artists were going to obscure chains like Tezos, right? Or even Binance Smart Chain, right? Like we consume anime, we consume Marvel comics, we consume so much of these different global art forms. What does Indian art stand besides Bollywood, right?
Welcome back to XDC Podcast India. Today we have someone who wears a lot of hats. He is an entrepreneur, he's a strategist, he's a community builder, and a martial artist. He's a founder of CultureCo, a platform that's reshaping how indie artists monetize their work. And he's been deeply involved in the Web3 space, including winning the hackathon organized by the Base blockchain. Plus, if you ever need a Jiu Jitsu partner, he's your guy. Joining us today is Dhruva Chakravarthi. Dhruva, welcome to the show.
And thank you, Kishan. Happy to be here and happy to catch up and actually spend some time with you after a long time. Been a huge proponent of the scene for a very long time. And like I said, wear many hats, and that just might be a consequence of ADHD, but a Bangalorean at heart for sure, every single day.
That's amazing. Dhruva, it's a pleasure to have you here. The subject for today is, the future of indie art, Web3 and blockchain. Going on to our first segment, let's talk about CultureCo and a love letter to indie artists. So let's start with CultureCo. You've called it a love letter to indie artists. If this were a real handwritten love letter, what would your first line be?
Very interesting question. I call it that way because it's something I'm doing to give back to the scene. But shit, if I were to think of reading my own love letter in a certain way, I think it would be sort of like, that police song, Every Breath You Take. Like, it's a very, very like endearing, loving kind of song, but it's actually by a stalker. So I feel like that's what I've been in the scene where I've seen all of you guys for a long time and I've been part of the scene for a long time. But I don't think many people know me. So it's just my way of like, and I've received a lot of love and a lot of life from being a part of the scene, but just giving back. So I think if it were a love letter, it would just be putting that disclaimer up saying like, hey, you may not know me, but I love you guys, and then start out from there. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. And yeah, I'm really happy about having spent so much time with the indie artists and the indie art community, especially in Bangalore, and that sort of motivated me to do a lot of things what I'm doing here. So CultureCo is a way of just giving back, and paying it forward.
Thank you so much, Drew, because I'm an indie artist as well. I understand the value that you guys are trying to bring in. More people in the scene, the better it is. Thank you so much for your contributions to the indie scene.
I don't know how much I've done. I've been a part of it, and I often bump into people like I've seen you play with Kishan Balaji Collective back in the day. I've seen you play like I think sessioning with other bands also for quite a while. So I've been a part of the scene, and a lot of my I think college days was spent just hanging out in Humming Tree or somewhere in Indranagar and like just getting live music and being immersed in that. And the scene changed and COVID changed everything. I realized that, the life of an artist is really, really hard. And it's not too different from a life of a founder or someone in a startup because you guys take a lot of risks to do something you really truly believe in and truly love to do. And with NFTs and with technology, I was like, okay, there is something here, and that's what motivated me to build my previous startup. And then CultureCo was just like, okay, you know what, I want to do something passionate and give it back, which is why actually News have recently open sourced it. So opening it up to as many artists as possible. I know it's still hard because artists, not everyone is okay with tech, but with people like you who are stepping into blockchain and seeing more and more people from the indie scene migrate into the Web3 scene, actually into the Jiu Jitsu scene also, it's really nice to see, all these words combining. And I think it's going to take its time. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're all moving in the right direction. I think it's good.
Yeah, fun fact, I used to train in Jiu Jitsu maybe around 8 to 10 years ago. I was training under Rama, fitness fight.
Yeah, Rama Reddy. Yeah,
Rama Reddy was my coach. He in fact pushed me into Jiu Jitsu competition. So I've actually competed and I saw that bit of your, experience as well.
Maybe a little caveat about Rama Reddy. He's so inspiring and he's such an amazing human being. I remember bumping into him in a competition actually, and while training and seeing him like actually put in a very good showcase of jiu-jitsu at that time, and it was just really inspiring. It shows that there's no age, no bounds for jiu-jitsu, and he's just a warm-hearted, kind-hearted person. You'd never think he could like put you into a chokehold. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I've known him for quite a while now. I think he's based out of Germany now. Bangalore is small, dude.
I
Yeah.
love Bangalore. Yeah, that's why I came back, right? Like you know someone if you're a Bangalorean.
ये badi अच्छी बात कही आप.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sense of community here is great, which is again why CultureCo and why we do what we do, and yeah, everything just works.
Perfect. So, again, just to ask you, so you grew up in Bangalore's music and art scene. Was there a moment when you realized, okay, I have to build something to support these artists? You kind of already mentioned that you wanted to give back to the art society, and you could probably share some personal experience, or it could be a conversation, or what was the tick that moved you into?
So many. Like I think I was part of the indie scene from 2012 to 2016, and that was like where it was just coming up, and it was one of the most beautiful eras we've ever seen. I actually even worked on a documentary, working on all of this. Standing by, you guys should check it out. I still rewatch it from time to time, just nostalgic, reminiscing the scene. After the gig happens, there's sort of like this downtime where everyone goes to the smoking section, or like the crowd is has gone away and the artists are hanging back and they're finally having their dinner, or that period post the gig. That time there have been so many conversations about like just criticizing and being skeptical and understanding that the scene could use a lot more and something needs to fix this. And we all know that the deals the artists make, right? Like they're still struggling to pay their rent even if they're selling out a 500 people packed venue, right? They're still struggling to put in the money to pay the next record. Sometimes the organizers aren't paying them, etc. There's just been normal, right? Normal to a point where it was normalized. There was a whole wave of artists playing for exposure that I'm glad like today doesn't. I don't think it flies anymore. But then again, the whole scene is dead. But there were so many of these moments where just late night conversations about, bro, we got to do something to fix the scene, or got to do something more. And there was a scene to fix, mind you, so it was a very different time, and that conversation kept moving, and right, it was just an itch on the back of our brain. And I went to the US, I studied, I worked there for a while, etc. I got into crypto, and then finally when I learned about NFTs, and later, much later in my crypto journey in about 2019, 2020, it was like a eureka moment. It was like, okay, this I think can be a tool to solve a lot of things for artists. And initially CultureCo was just a clubhouse room, okay, where I just put myself out there for 4 hours, 6 hours a day, and onboarded so many indie artists to WazirX, to OpenSea, to Magic Eden, to Foundation, to just NFT platforms. It was mostly an educational community, right? And there were about 1,000 people, 1,000 artists there, just sitting and listening and learning what is this new thing called Web3, etc. Worked with a few artists to like innovate a few projects, but then went and built my own different company to build NFT tools, and then came back now and been like, you know what, I'll create the whole commerce stack, I'll open source it. And there's so many parts in that journey that are missing for artists, but got to solve it one step at a time. But CultureCo has just been a long journey, and you asked where it started from. It started from that itch, that little point in 2014 to 2016 where we would just sit and talk about it. And I still have a lot of artist friends, and we discuss about it. And like, how long are we just going to talk about it without doing anything? And finally, it's great to see people like you, like Nitish, all these guys doing something about it. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And CultureCo is more than just a startup, right? It's a community. But let's be real. Artists love creating but not handling business. Like you said, we are artists. We do not like to deal with payments. We don't want to deal with those long emails, putting structures down. I mean, we like putting structures down in the songs and in whatever we do in the artist form. But yeah, when it comes to the paperwork and when it comes to the paper itself, we kind of lag behind there. Since you understand both sides, what is the biggest mindset shift they need to make to survive in today's digital world? When I say they, me, you, everyone, yeah. So
dude, I think first off, you said CultureCo is more than a startup, I think it's less than a startup, man. A startup is something that you build and that has exponential scale. A startup is a business that grows. If it doesn't grow exponentially, it's a small or medium-sized enterprise or an MSME or a business or something like that. If it doesn't do even that much, it's that. This is not even there. This is a community project. So, right, I have made no money. Right? And that is because artists make very little money for the same reason that you pointed out, right? And that is also the motivation behind open sourcing it, which is I can bring the horse to water, I can't make it drink. I can build an oasis, right? But if no one's going to use it, it's pointless. So put it out there for free to see how much artists can use. And I think it's very simple, right? Artists want to create, but they struggle with the business side of things. And we need to sort of like dig into why that disconnect exists. Right. And bro, I've been breaking my head over this for like years because that is make or break for my business. Right. And I think artists, just a very kind way of putting it is artists need to care a lot more about their art. For them, they mainly create as a way to put their things out or express themselves, right? But to what end, right? And for some reason, it needs to sort of tie in together with that sense of community, with that sense of society, with that sense of a market. And I think that's where some sort of intimidation happens, where I don't think artists truly understand the market, wherein then polluted thoughts like, oh, what is my worth? Or what am I valued for? Or what if this person won't like me? Starts coming in. Bro, I've seen insane artists who have never put out any of their art because they are under the fear of what if people don't like it, right? I mean, that's not the reason you created it in the first place. So you created it, you made it, but then you won't put it out there, right? So there is a bit of a disconnect. And I think that's something that I have seen that the next generation is overcoming, that they're able to put it together. But also, I think there are these false notions of what a business should look like. Right? I think everyone thinks, oh, a business should look like this. I need to go and promote my art this way. I need to sell out, right? I need to go and do brand advertisements or endorsement deals or play corporate gigs that I don't like to do, etc. Or make art that someone else wants in a certain way, etc. Right? But they don't understand the demand for art in the real world and the demand for creativity, right? Which is where I see a lot of the new generation sort of coming in and taking over and doing like insane things, right? Like even if you look at how comedy has blown up like crazy, it's great because people have taken the business side of it into their own hands. And I think that's where I think in when you're saying being an artist is like, okay, if you're an artist, it's great. But if you're a professional independent artist, I think each of these words means something. Professional means you're making money for your art. Independence means you're doing it by yourself, and then you're an artist. Like I can sit and make a song by myself and never let anyone hear it. That'll also make me an artist, but it won't make me a professional artist. Similar to how you said jiu-jitsu, when you got into jiu-jitsu, you went and competed straight away, right? You put yourself into the deep end, right? And you weren't like, okay, I will go train, I'll do this, and I'll never tell anyone that I'm doing this. You went and put it out in the market, so as to say, and tested it and found a value for it, and then went and decided if you'll improve upon it or not. But I think many things are missing here, where people don't know how to use the market as a feedback loop. People don't know how to have a positive relationship with the market. People aren't okay with making too little or too much money, and people aren't okay with seeing their friends making too little or too much money. So I think many of these notions get mixed up, and I think people just need to care about those three things, right? Am I making art for a living? If not, don't worry about it. Continue making art. Doesn't matter. If you are making art for a living, you have to do a lot of other things because you are calling yourself as an artist. And you shouldn't be pushing that over to an artist manager. I think you can build a great relationship with an artist manager on the business side of things, but you can't do it just because you're uncomfortable with dealing with the business side of things. I think it needs to be positive sum in that sense of way. And being independent means you know you're biting that bullet. You know you're saying, I am taking my business into my own hands. And we have seen insane number of people, like whether it's Taylor Swift, whether it's Floyd Mayweather, all of these guys who have taken their brand, their identity, their IP back into their own hands and done something with it, right? And we have also seen a lot of people who do something like, there are millions of YouTubers who have like maybe under 10K subscribers, but then they switch over to a Patreon and then they are able to monetize that because they can create a revenue stream from just their baseline amount of support. Dude, we and you together know tons of indie artists who have over 50K, 100K followers who are still struggling to pay rent. So this is a problem, I think, in the mentality on how to use your community, how to leverage your audience, etc. There is a second side of things, which is our Indian market is very, very stingy, I would say, in how they want to spend. They're a value market, right, in how they want to spend. Like, for example, yesterday night I went and saw the Ed Sheeran gig, right? And Mali opened for the Ed Sheeran gig. And I saw Mali and Lala playing over there. And I was like, I have seen these guys today are playing to like 15,000, 25,000 people. But I've seen them play gigs literally 1 year ago to 10, 15 people in the audience, right? And there is this disconnect that happens in how they can sell themselves, how they can put them across. Not to say that they're a bad example by any means, but they're trying their best. So there's a way the market values them, right? The market came for Ed Sheeran, and they got Mali and Lala as a bonus and discovered them and went on and went forth. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way the things are, and they need to be able to change that up and do that. But I think now the market sentiment is also changing, where a lot of people like you, me, etc., care about what indie artists are, care about going away from the mainstream, care about really, really unique and customizable and specific art, and more than anything, care about artist journey, because there is a sense of vicariousness to it. Because artists are one of the and founders are people who are taking risks to do what they want, what they love, which between me and you, a lot of people out there don't do. A lot of people out there have to take a stable job, etc. So these risk takers are very inspiring to the relay man, right? And stories sell, art sell. So it's putting a lot of these things together and not being intimidated by the business side of things. And then there's just a David versus Goliath game. But do the best you can and stay true to your art is all I'd say. It can get very convoluted, but there's a lot of nuance here. But I just say embrace the business, right? Embrace the market, and that's going to create like exponential difference.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things that you said. We've been doing this for a while as well. And I have been part of a lot of indie bands. And, we have KBC, which also does a lot of cover music, which caters to different segment, right? A different kind of crowd. Like you said, you built an entire commerce stack for artists, and building a commerce stack isn't easy. What was the biggest, like, oh shit moment during development?
I think so many oh shit moments, because at least my previous experience as a founder taught me that pivoting is going to happen. Iterations and pivoting is part of it, right? You're never going to find your final product. And I don't think I'm still there, right? I don't think our commerce stack is still ready. Like there's so many more ideas that I think I need to build up on it. But I think I started with 2 points, which is one side is I know the existing artists and that they are creating art and they're putting it out. Second point, which I want people to get to is, are they able to tokenize it, bring it on chain and get exposure to global economy and global market, right? Because liquidity is a huge problem in art. I mean, you can always go to your local flea market and sell your little prints of it, but that doesn't give you the exposure of some art connoisseur from Dubai or Europe or even Africa looking into it, appreciating it, or some vendor from Thailand looking into it, learning from your strokes, wanting to learn from you and do something different, right? That opportunity isn't there. But what it does give you is community integration. So I wanted to join those two lines, and so it started with education. It moved into digitization. It moved into creating Web3 platforms. Then I realized artists don't know how to do websites. So I built storefronts. And I realized, okay, half of their market, it doesn't want to buy in crypto. I have to do an onboarding crypto site to it. So like, screw it, we'll integrate UPI, Stripe, etc. And we're like, okay, they don't just sell art. They want to sell IP activations. So that's like merch, that's like tickets. So we kept building, right? We kept building and building and building after understanding what our markets wanted, until we got to a point where we are like, okay, an artist can do a lot with this commerce stack. Now they have to do, right? And that's the point we have reached right now, which is why I've open sourced it and I'm giving community grants out there for artists who are going to use it and try to make something off of it, leverage it in their own independent creative way. Because we were then getting a lot of feedback that we couldn't templatize, right? Artists were saying, can I design this my own way? Artists were saying, can I also sell this and that in this unique combination? And then if we start catering to every nuance and everything, it just goes haywire. So we're like, open source it and let them figure it out. I'll obviously help you. I'm part of your journey. But is there some way that you can bring this to reality and get your first sale going, right? And I think between those two lines, we've gone through many stage shifts and many pivots, but we've just iterated on connecting these two dots. I don't think we're still there. Like right now, my next idea to build, which I've not talked to about anyone, but I'll share it with you, is actually thinking of building an AI bot or an assistant, because a lot of artists can't find good artist manager. And this is a simple way of getting them started or giving them that nudge that business side nudge that we talked about earlier, right? Like you create, but can an AI say, hey, I like your art. This is a t-shirt concept that I made out of it. Shall I put this up on your store to sell it? And all you have to say as an artist is, sure, why not? Sell it for 500 rupees, put 20 copies out there, I will post it on Instagram. So you have an AI that does half of your work for you, but it simplifies the business things, it simplifies the deal making, and it brings that power back into your own hands. And you have that business assistant that you needed. So I'm trying to explore building that out, trying to work with different chains, trying to figure out how to onboard more people into crypto. But at the end of the day, every artist have their own distribution, and I think we built a huge commerce stack that I think an artist can do everything with. Whether it's subscriptions, whether it's tipping, whether it's straight up commerce of products, whether it's services, whether it's event tickets, etc. They can pretty much do anything. And now we've just given that business toolkit into the hands of the creators. Like you have your drum kit, you have your art palette, etc. So we thought that what they're missing out is a business toolkit. And that's what we provided.
That's awesome. I would like to try this, to be honest.
Please do. It's open source. It's all yours.
It's open source. So when you mean it's open source, it's your code is accessible to any of these artists and they can use that code to basically build an AI agent probably to do everything for them instead of...
No, AI agent is still not even built. Right now it's just a commerce stack. I'm still in concept. That's why I said I'm just still sharing it with you.
Okay, got it.
But right now it's in GitHub, it's live on the website. So I think I've created two ways of them to use it. One is if they like what they see and customize it with very little thing, then that's all there within the website, where they can create their own artist storefront, where they can go out, put their own art, start putting it for sale, connect their UPI, start getting money to their own bank account, start connecting their crypto wallet, and just start selling, right? It's a very easy startup shop for them. But if they wanted their own way and want to do something unique using our tools, which isn't there themselves, GitHub, go request a pull request, host it yourself. You own your data, you own everything yourself, and you get to do everything yourself. So you get to redesign it however you want. You get to pick and choose what parts of the platform you want. And again, this is where open source is beautiful, because say someone like you or someone else who is tech savvy can use this boilerplate and say, hey, actually, I think I can build a startup with it. Please, by all means, go do it. Build your own business, build your own startup, do what we couldn't, and maybe solve the market in a different way, right? And that's literally why I put it out there, right? To see how much can people use it and just to unleash those bounds.
That's awesome. So what blockchain are you using for this? What is the main platform that you're using, and can it be easily moved on to, say, I mean, I work with XDC and we use Solidity. We are in the top 100 projects and we do have a good ecosystem going. So if it's something that we want to do on XDC, would you be willing to help us? Because I'm an artist, you guys have a stack going, and we also have XDC. So I see some sort of ecosystem being built over there. So could we do something on those lines?
So I'll tell you, there are only two main areas of Web3 usage that are commerce stack uses. One is accepting payments. Accepting payments, we want people to be able to take crypto from any chain, however people are paying. So we have a payments integration with CopperX, or you can even integrate it with your own blockchain. Any crypto person will allow you to collect payments however you want. That is very easy. So there's a way of collecting payments, which is how does your audience want to pay, and they can pay from the regular blockchains we allow them to integrate, or they can add on more very easily. It's literally like adding that to one file, and that's not hard at all. The second part is the Web3 side of things, right? Where everything we are creating, whether it's a sale in rupees, whether it's a sale in fiat, in US dollars, cross-border, or whether it's a sale in crypto, every transaction and every art piece is being tokenized on-chain. Right now, we are doing it on base chain because it's the cheapest way for us to do it. It's the easiest IP graph. I already experimented with trying to do it on Solana, but there wasn't that much flexibility. So we did it on base, and base loved it. We won their hackathon, etc. But it's a very simple fork to put in your own. This is where people like you should try to fork that GitHub repository and say, hey, we'll do it for, what do you call it, for XDC chain. A few weeks ago, someone asked it saying, hey, can we fork it and do it for Abstract chain, right? When Abstract dropped. Anything that's EVM, very simple. Just add your RPC connection, Just make sure your URL is correct, and you can make sure and you can redeploy our smart contracts onto XDC, because right now it's the same. It's a Solidity smart contract that's on base. All that does is listen to every transaction that you're putting it and mince it on your chain. So it's as simple as that, right? That is tokenizing all the art and all the transactions onto any one chain. And that's why we open source it, because we didn't want to restrict all artists from saying, okay, you have to do it only on base or only on this. So any EVM chain, you can fork it and do it wherever you'd like. This I learned because last cycle, when I was educating a lot of artists, I couldn't understand why artists were going to obscure chains like Tezos, right? Or even Binance Smart Chain, right? Like, why are they putting NFTs out there? And I realized that every artist has a different market that they can go and they can get access to, right? And in such a small space like NFTs, where liquidity is everything, even if you can get 10 or 100 buyers on one chain that you can't get on another chain, that is the chain you should pick. So we want to give that freedom for people to use it. But hey, if you're saying you want to use base, you want to use any payments thing, then you can use it out of the box. If you want to reconfigure it, it's just a matter of, I think, 10 minutes change of code and maybe 1 hour of redeploying contracts. That's about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take this up for sure with XDC.
Yeah, give me a call if you need any help. Always there to help you with that. But yeah, it should be super simple to deploy on XDC.
100%. You've onboarded 1,000+ artists, right?
Not to CultureCo. I've onboarded 1,000+ artists to Web3 for
To
sure.
Web3. Okay. To Web3. What's it? It doesn't matter if it's Web3 or if it's Web2 or anything. It's you've onboarded 1,000+ artists, which is in itself a huge thing, right? So, what's one unexpected thing you've learned from that experience of onboarding those 1,000 different people?
This is a slight skepticism, but I think a lot of artists have bigger problems than coming to Web3. And I think that is very fair, right? Because I think Web3, although it's great and we understand it and all of that, an artist problem is very immediate, right? It's like, and the way they solve it is with creativity, with expression, etc. But I think there are a lot of obstacles in their way before they can get to Web3. The artists that I've seen enter into Web3 are normally those who can sort of go through an entire paradigm shift of saying, okay, or maybe they're fresh enough or risky enough where they can say, okay, you know what is this thing? Let me try it out. Or curious enough, right, for that necessity. But I think if you were trying to sell Web3 to artists, I honestly think, which I was doing for a long time, I think most of them don't need it, which is, I think, a fair assumption, right? And that also is going to say that we are that early in Web3, that we first need to get Web3 adopted by a lot of other people before we then go to artists, which is also fair, I think. So yeah, that's my main takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, being an artist itself, it's such a niche, you know. It's from doing so many other things, just, putting so much of your time learning up an instrument, doing that, and then trying to get gigs, trying to find people. Yeah, it's pretty tiring. I understand.
And the reason I said paradigm shift is because artists still prefer trying products the way it works, right? They want to use a product that gives them something, that gives them certain amount of distribution, that gives them something, and that they can see other artists also using, right? But in Web3, the first artists who came on there were like, okay, let me try it out. And they went to OpenSea and they saw some of the art and they're like, I can do better than this. How is this selling this much? And it sort of came from there, right? But like recently, there was a very interesting app that came out called Kara. I don't know if you heard of it, CARA. It's an AI enabled visual art app where artists have a way of AI preventing plagiarism and enabling IP ownership. So they were all like head over heels for it because it sold them and it was a startup model and all of those things. But Web3 is a different way, right? Web3 is, hey, here is this infrastructure, use it. It's not being sold to you. And I think that often it does not work.
Let's dive into Web3, like you were talking about Web3 and artists, and involved in Based India. And why is blockchain a game changer for Indian artists?
So I think we are in that early adoption phase, right? Where we have a disruptive, innovative technology. Artists can use a lot of them. Now, Indian artists specifically don't know, right? Big question mark, still pending, TBD, still to be decided. But one thing for sure is there is this potential, there is this open space for people to capture, which has not been captured, right? And let's take a step back. It's not even Indian artists in Web3. it's Indian artists in the world, right? Like we consume anime. We have consumed Looney Tunes and Warner Brother and Hanna-Barbera cartoons growing up. We consume Marvel comics. We consume Tintin, which was from Belgium. We consume so much of these different global art forms. What does Indian art stand besides Bollywood, right? Like now I'm starting to see really good injection coming in, which is why I think Peter Cat Recording Company is a great example, right? Because my friends in LA, white friends, Mexican friends in LA, no Peter Cat Recording Company. And I still remember his first SoundCloud album, which is still not on Spotify, which was Gypsy Rock, which was a far cry from what he does today. But he's figured out a way to put his music out there, and Kruangbin playing an entire tour with Peter Cat Recording Company is great, right? So having a cultural relevance point, even though it's a bit of a sellout, Hanuman kind, right? Like even his with Warner Brothers, obviously steroided help, being able to blow up in that much and being able to capture that much cultural space or attention, right? We are in the world of attention economy, right? I think that's still a lot of potential for Indian artists to do, and I think that's the breakout they can do. And I think Web3 is one of their many enablers. Of course, social media, of course, AI, of course, working with labels and businesses and working with communities and learning how to like strategically put content out there and do fun things, etc., is very, very important. Even how Mali has done a lot of work with Apple, how Dhruv Vishwanath has done a lot of cool things out in the US and everything, right? I think there's a lot of play for Indian culture and Indian art to really, really bloom and flourish in the global span. And I think Web3 is one of many enablers to help that. A lot of Indians, especially, stand out in the Web3 space because you and I know that, right? Like whether it's people like Zeneca, people like Balaji, people like Arvind Srinivas, who's now doing Perplexity, Sandeep Newal, who built Polygon, right? There are a lot of Indians who are really learning how to like really bite into this thing and capture the Indian space. And I think art is still yet to do that. And I think that is something that we can actively work to build because artists are normally early adopters. Right? If we think of artists like Imogen Heap, artists like Yingwi, right? These are guys who went and embraced tech in like insane ways. Even Mike Shinoda. Oh, I met Mike Shinoda in a Web3 conference.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
bro, yeah. It was great seeing Mike Shinoda. And he was a Tezos proponent. So it's very interesting seeing all of these things sort of interwork, play together, jigsaw together, right? It's very cool. But I think Web3 is just one of many ways. And I think the goal is for Indian artists to like really, really put a stamp in the global cultural landscape.
That's crazy, and it's awesome that I literally know all of the names that you just shared. If you had to explain Web3 to an indie musician, like in say 30 seconds, how would you do it?
First question, should I explain it? Okay, but let's assume that we should. It's simple, right? Web3 is the indie internet. It's that simple. If you are an indie artist and you understand what being indie means, Web3 is the indie internet. It's
Yep,
available to all. It's free for all. You can do what you want with it, and you can even screw it up, as most indie artists do. But hey,
that's
we try.
again a very what do you say? It's a very subjective thing to say. Culture could be someone else's dream. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. It's a lot of chaos.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot
then
of
again,
chaos.
that's what
Yeah.
we lean into. Yeah.
So,
I wish.
yeah, in the interest of time, I'm just, skipping few questions and I'm just going
Sure,
to
sure.
the next
Actually, if you
segment.
want to take them, feel free for it because I don't want to break your flow. So it's totally up to you.
A lot of the questions I've also used AI. So I see a lot of questions which don't make any sense. I'm just going to skip them based on what I think because I want to keep the conversation organic as well, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
some of these questions don't make sense. So
Fair, fair, fair.
I'm just being very blunt and honest with you.
I'm glad you're honest. You
This-
honestly,
this-
keep this in the podcast. Keep this.
Done.
It's just nice to be natural, right?
Yeah. So now heading over to the segment 3, which is XDC Network and the future of Web3 in India. So let's talk about Web3's bigger picture. XDC Network is all about real world assets and its adoption. Based on your experience, where do you see the biggest opportunity for XDC in India's creative economy?
Such a tough question, right? because what there is no real world asset to art. There is tokenization of merch and IP management and collectible management and stuff like that. But India is such a difficult market because if you're making money in crypto, the biggest problem is regulation, taxes, all of those things that come into play, which is why India is not a buzzing crypto market yet. And we can dive into this later, but India may not even be primed for crypto right yet, right? It's not a very, very friendly crypto market, but it has a lot of crypto talent. So I think from any blockchain perspective, and again, free ticket to XDC, capturing the Indian creator trust and the educational mind space around crypto and around Web3 onboarding, that is a monopoly that will eventually lead to like exponential results, right? Like being that one chain that creators can trust to work with in the very, very long term, because crypto is very, very erratic in the 4 year cycles and whatnot. Being able to establish long term trust, which no one has been able to do, right? Ethereum was there back in the day. Ethereum is now like too expensive to do anything on. Tezos was there back in the day. Tezos is forgotten. It was there on Formula One. It was there on like football jerseys, etc. It's gone. WazirX. Don't get me started on WazirX. Right? That is a messed up thing. Solana has come in, all of these things. So there is no right tight capture or tight traction in anything. And it's anyone's game, honestly, right now. Base is trying to do it, Solana's trying to do it, right? Everyone wants to bring in artists because that is the fun side of crypto. Yeah, meme coins and all is where you make money, but artists and culture, I think more importantly, is the more meaningful and more the in-depth side of crypto that can put in. So being able to have a foot in the door there and being able to have some market capture there, I think would be the most beneficial way right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And artists listen to artists mainly. For people who
Yes.
listen, like who have been in the scene, who have done things, who have that, hey bro, kind of connection. That's, I think, is important.
So you're saying XCC hired the right person?
I think, yeah, I think maybe, yeah, I agree with you over there because
Give him a raise. Give him a raise.
vehemently agree with you over there.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I do have a lot to give back to music and the art form and all the people that I worked with in the past. And more than making money or learning the instruments, there's so many experiences that I have gone through, which absolutely wouldn't have happened if I wasn't, a professional drummer as well.
You should do a podcast on that, an entire series on that. You just talk about it. And honestly, whatever you want to do, how can I help? Because it's nice to see people from the scene actually doing it. So,
yeah. So fast forward 5 years from now, what does a Web3 powered creative industry in India look like? And where do you think an XTC would fit in? I mean, it pretty much goes back to our conversation 20 seconds ago. But what is your opinion on this?
I think hopefully Web3 enables Indian creators to really exercise that indie muscle, right? Like, I think the value of indie is always walking a tightrope, right? Because people are indie until they find a better opportunity and break out. I think indie will become viable with Web3. Hopefully in 5 years, knock on wood, etc. But sorry, no offense to you, but it might be XDC, might not be XDC, could be any blockchain. But that's a larger Web3
No,
scope. And I just hope that it enables that indie muscle to really, really get exercised.
there is no offense taken. To be honest, I, as an indie artist myself, whatever needs to get done needs to get done.
Yeah.
So we are people who I think are slightly enabled to help indie artists in some form and way. And I think because you have done so much in Web3, you've tied up with international brands like Adidas, Prada, and you've done so many things in the past, and you've kind of merged Web3 and counterculture, which is great.
Great.
Yeah,
Also great event.
yeah, it used to be a really great venue, but
Unfortunately shut down.
unfortunately, like many things, it's shut down. I think we should definitely take this opportunity. I'm glad that I met you on a very personal level. Thanks to Nitish, for
Yeah.
hooking
Nitish
this
is
up.
also great. early Blue
He's a
Frog days.
great guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He's
wonderful. Like, I don't think any ideas are new, right? Like, now, I don't think any ideas are novel. Like, when I had these eureka moments in 2019, 2020, no idea has improved. None of them have, like, been added to or changed by much. I think the only difference, like you pointed out, is execution, right? Work has to be done. And it's in people like hands like you and me, etc. And that's honestly one of the reasons why me to build CultureCo is like I'm like I know I can do all of this, and if I don't do this, I'm pretty sure no one else is going to do that, right? Like build a stack, put it out there, and let artists do it. And now still there is so much work that needs to be done. So I think now it's just a matter of execution. There's a lot of potential. Can we work towards it? I think that's the biggest question, and we have to wholeheartedly work together on that because there is no exploiting, there is no startup model in all of this. There is no one chain to rule them all, etc. It's decentralized, it's indie, right? But the more artists we can get sort of into this cult following of like indiness, right? I think then we'll sort of get a little ahead. And 5 years, I think, is a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, I had an idea actually, which I'd like to put out, where we basically travel to different cultural hubs across India. It's something like a Coke studio, but a little more honest, I would say, where people actually make their money. All the money goes to Coke Studios, IP, their YouTube channel. If there's a way for these Rajasthani artists or from Belgaum or wherever, if they can get money into their account through these activations, I think that would be a game changer.
Happy to do it, bro. I have some hackathon money. Let's fund this. This is all
Awesome.
put forward only to the community. Let's do it.
Done. So this is something that I've been wanting to do for many years actually, and we have some musicians who we can involve, some directors who we can involve. Nitish himself is really, really good with his music, and he's an all-round, superb guy. So definitely we'll speak to him about this as well.
For sure, for sure. He's one of the nice. I'm so glad he transitioned and I met him.
I'm just gonna ask you a question. So if you could challenge any tech figure to a jiu-jitsu match, who are you picking?
It's obvious. It's Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like, obviously, he's going to beat me. By far, he's going to beat me because he's put more years into it, etc. But yeah, because I think Jiu-Jitsu is a wonderful way to see how people think and problem solve and the intensity they go into it with me. It's like chess, right? If you know the rules of the game, you're just learning how another person engages into it with you. And yeah, I think it'll be just fun to see someone like that problem solving. Because I think Jiu-Jitsu has also done like a reimagining of Mark Zuckerberg's persona, and would love to see like how he thinks, how he solves problem, how he goes at it, etc. And yeah, I think it'll be fun. I'm going to lose for sure, but yeah.
There's no losing if you're gonna if you actually get a fight with Mark Zuckerberg. To be honest, there's no losing.
Yeah, for sure. I won already. Yeah.
Anyway, so for anyone listening who wants to support CultureCo, get involved with Based India because you won the hackathon, or just follow what you do, where does one get to know you or connect with you? Could you share some of your socials, and we'll link it up as well in the the podcast. So
Well, as you have found out, I think I have a bit of a perceived schizophrenic personality when I'm doing many, many different things. So I created one website to put them all together, which is dhruva.life. So you can see everything that's going on in my life over there. I'll keep updating it. You can see, follow my jiu-jitsu journey. You can see what's happening on my Web3 side of things. You can see what I'm doing in my personal side of life, where I'm working at, etc. And if you want to get involved in CultureCo, that's just in the GitHub repository. You can check out the website, cultureco.xyz. You can go to the GitHub repository, see what you want to build into it. And I'm just a DM away, I'm just a phone call away. I'm very reachable. Like to make time for people who want to give back and do more of this thing that I believe in, that you and I believe in. And here I am. If you can't find me, it's probably because you're spelling my name Dhrub, and that will pop up Dhruva Chakravarthi and not me. So sorry.
I get what you're saying. So anyway, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been a lovely conversation, to be honest. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you.
We will
in
catch up
Bangalore.
soon. Yes, we have work to do, man.
And yeah, we have some work to do. So let's catch up this week, and let's just figure out something. Just drop by if you want to, or maybe we could just go to Hole in the Wall or something. So
Yeah. Have you been to Zoe?
I have been to zoo. I have been to zoo. Yeah. Hole in the wall. I just mentioned that because it's
College
old.
gurus, no?
Khalij Gurus, exactly. So you know that. Like, yeah, so again, it's like an indie band and they're doing something
Yep.
else. They're doing it pretty well.
Yeah, they're very, very well. I have my breakfast from there many, many days.
Done. So if you need any reservations there, you know who to call.
For sure, bro, for sure. And yeah, also, guys, Kishan has told me that he is playing in Hard Rock Cafe on 22nd, 23rd Feb.
Yeah.
So yeah, please
Please.
support the scene, buy a freaking ticket, go watch the show. Yeah, that's the least we can do.
Done. 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 Thank you so much, Dhruva. Thank you for being
Yeah.
in this show. Yeah. Yeah.